Hello and welcome to another video of Yu-Gi-Oh! Masterduel Master Showcase. So in this video we're going to be going over Raidraptor, which is a strategy that just got a structure deck released, and better yet, you only need 2 copies of it to be able to actually play competitively. So let's go over what that strategy entails. This deck runs 3 rank up magic cards that allow you to turn your otherwise smaller Raidraptor monsters into absolute behemoths that aim to burn and destroy everything that your opponent hopes to build with their strategy. So the main playmakers that will be doing this is Rising Rebellion Falcon, which will allow you to nuke the field that your opponent has and burn them for all of their monsters' original attack. Satellite Cannon Falcon, which allows you to just Harpy's Feather Duster as a quick effect that your opponent cannot react to. Revolution Falcon, which allows you to pop a monster on the field and also burn your opponent for the original attack it had. And also pop another card with Rusty Bardiche because we love Rusty Bardiche. The other cards that the deck will typically have on the field is hopefully like a copy of Glorious Bright, which is essentially just an Omni Negate. If your opponent activates, has a card like a Harpy's Feather Duster or a Raigeki, and you control an Xyz monster that's a Raidraptor, you can target that card and just negate it. It's a really good card. It also has recursion in the graveyard. But yeah, the main playmakers of this strategy is Bloom Vulture, which allows you to special summon it and a card in your hand. We then have good old Strangle Lanius, which allows you to just special summon it from your hand if you control a dark monster. And as well, when you get further into your combo, you can summon this card with Arsenal Falcon and be able to make a free 4 Strix to continue your combo. We also have Samorg, which is just basically like a Kakatokage kind of effect. If you normal or special summon a Winged Beast, you can just summon this from your hand. We then have Tribute Lanius, which allows you to send cards such as Mimicry, Heal, or Noir Lanius, which allows you to then potentially extend combos. We have Mimicry Lanius, which allows you to banish it from the graveyard and add any Raidraptor card from deck to hand, which is extremely powerful. And then we have Heal Eagle, which allows you to special summon it and you'll be going into Ystrix. And you also have Pain Lanius, which is a bit harder to use because you can't use it to summon Raiders Knight, but it's really good for summoning Ystrix. And if you have a Mimicry Lanius on board, or a Noir Lanius in graveyard, you can actually use it to go into Brave Strix, get your combo started that way. So, what is the general game plan of this deck? It's to get 2 monsters on the field with an extender, so maybe 3, go into Ystrix summon another one, and then essentially go into Raiders Knight, into Brave Strix, getting the good old Rum Skip Force from Ystrix, or from Brave Strix itself if you don't have Ystrix on the field. Then getting Roost if you didn't already have, if you already had Skip Force, you can then get Roost and do some other stuff. But yeah, Magic Force, go into Arsenal Falcon, bring back Strangle, bring back another card, go into 4 Strix, and then at that point you can hopefully go into Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche with your Ystrix and your Arsenal Falcon, which summons out a Ultimate Falcon or a 4 Strix with the Arsenal Falcon effect. I know it's a lot. And then with Rusty Bardiche, you can send a Raider's Ring to either set a Phantom Knight counter trap or the Phantom Knight rank up. The rank up is better than the counter trap. So yeah, that's pretty much the strategy as a whole. You'll have 2 4 Strixes, and you'll be able to turn one of them into a background nuke, a back row nuke, or another pop that does a lot of burn damage. Either one of them is still very effective, and with Rusty Bardiche you can turn it into a, Harpy's Feather Duster quick effect with a pop, or 2 pops of your opponent's cards. Really good for snuffing out a good old starter and then having them have to commit with a really hard push, in which you can then just nuke them all with Rising Rebellion. This deck is actually very, very formidable and has a lot of really good cards, such as good old Forbidden Droplet, Dominus Impulse, Cold Buy, Cross-Site Designator, Ash, and Maxi, to help alleviate the problems of going second, as well as strengthen being able to go first and playing through your opponent's bullshit. So I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day and enjoy the replays that I'll be showing you. So this is the first replay that we're going to be going over, and I'm just going to essentially live commentate and pause whenever necessary to be able to show you what the deck is capable of and what we're going to be doing. So as you can see, we're going to be going first, and we're going to be summoning Noir Lanius. As you can see right now, we do have the Strangle Lanius, which means we can full combo with this hand. So we'll heal Eagle, special summon itself to summon Y-Strix. Y-Strix will probably summon like I think it's just a Lanius. Well, they're all Lanius. But yeah, the Vanishing. We then summon Strangle. We then go into Raider's Night, in which we can then go into the Raidraptor Bravestrix, which will then properly activate Raider's Y-Strix. So then we get the Skip Force, which means with Bravestrix we can get the Roost, which is really good. Obviously we now activate Roost, then we go Rum, so then we can get the add off of the Roost. So we go into Arsenal Falcon, we then Roost, so then we can add good old Rise rank up. We then detach to summon Strangle. Strangle, summon one from graveyard, probably just Strangle, but no, we summon this one. These two into Forstrix. A lot of just, it's a very simple strategy. We then get Bloom because we have the Mimicry in hand. We only have Winged Beasts, so we get to summon both of them out. We then go into another Forstrix. We then detach the Vanishing. We get the Raider's Wing, and then at this point we go these two into the Rusty Bardiche. Very nice summon animation. I'm so happy I have this Royal. We then go into the lovely, lovely Ultimate Falcon, and at this point we pretty much have full combo set up. However, we will send another Raider's Wing to get the counter trap, and then we'll send banish the Mimicking to get the final card for our strategy, Glorious. So we set all three of those. We go Roost, getting all the cards that we don't need in the graveyard or banished, and we get the beautiful, the amazing Dominus Impulse. So our opponent has a lot of things that they have to play around. Let's go into what they have to play around. We have a Pop with Rusty Bardiche. We have a Nuke with Rise. We have a back row or an extra Pop, but at this point it was just a back row removal. We also have the full-on card negate and a monster effect negate, as well as the Dominus Impulse in hand. So they have a whole lot that they have to get through. They start off with a Harpy's Feather Duster. We're able to negate it with Glorious Right. And the thing that's really good is if we had to go an extra game, like an extra turn, we could heal Eagle, bring back the Blight to our hand, so then we have the negate again. They go Allure Dance into the field spell. At this point, they have two cards on field. We can stop their card's activation by just destroying the entire thing with Satellite Cannon Falcon. We do summon it in the zone of the good old Phantom Knight, however we don't need to use the effect because there's nothing to activate. They then go Magician's Souls. This is a perfect time to Phantom, so we do, getting one off of the Satellite Cannon because it doesn't really need its effects. So that's another card down from the opponent. They then go into the new Magistus card, which is actually extremely good, and I will be doing a deck preview for this. So they then go into Zorua, they equip this, they then go to use this, and because it's an effect, we can Dominus Impulse, and because we used Glorious Bright before, we can actually destroy it as well. So with that, they concede. However, we still had a Nuke and a Pop essentially left on our field. So overall, pretty damn good. The next one that we'll be going over is a bit more of a sick one. This is one that kind of shows off the more scrappy nature that you can pull together when you have your comrades by your side. So I hope you all enjoy this much longer one, and then we'll end with pretty much what I would show off as the optimal combo of the strategy, in which I won't commentate. So we start off with a Maxi as we are going second. Our opponent sets one and passes. They are playing Blue Eyes Primite and they seem to have bricked. So on our turn, they Maxi, and as we don't want to give them too many cards because we can't play through things like Nibiru, we instead just leave it. They affect Rayla, our Tribute Lanius, so even if we wanted to extend and play, we basically can't, and we don't want to just max E for nothing. So instead, we just set out Imperm and we pass. Not before obviously getting some good old battle damage in. I will speed this one up a bit more because it's a bit of a slower one. So our opponent now goes into full Primite bullshit, so they summon Ether. Ether getting the Drill Beam, which we don't need to worry about this turn, and then they go into Spirit with Eyes of Blue. At this point I thought this card would be a detriment, so we negated its effects, so then you can't activate them or summon a Blue Eyes. They summon a Blue Eyes anyway and go into Heavenly Spheres, which will allow them to bounce one of our monsters and get their Drill Beam online. So at this point we summon another Tribute Lanius. They Xyz lock us, so we can't summon Xyz. We then go Mimicry Lanius to then go into a Glorious Bright, because you can use this card even if your opponent even if you only have a Raidraptor, you can still use this on your opponent. So we then go to use Strangle Lanius with their Droll, and then they Heavenly Spheres, so then they can get a card on field so they can Drill Beam, as well as bounce one of ours. So at this point, they're now able to summon one. We go into the battle phase. They Drill Beam, so then we don't get the extra effect from Tribute, so we only get the battle damage in from that. During their standby phase, they're going to be able to get their Ether Barrel back to hand, because they have a card in the graveyard. And then because they'll be able to normal summon the Ether Barrel, that means that they'll be able to get Drill Beam. We go to negate this just so then they can't use Load to be able to then get a Drill Beam to hand, so then they can Drill Beam this turn, Drill Beam next turn. They then go into the Mausoleum of White because we can't stop it this time. They then summon 2 Blue Eyes and attack first. However, they then go into another Heavenly Sphere, so they obviously don't have a rank 8. If they did, we probably would have been in a really bad spot. So always run number, I think it's 36 or something. Titanic Hope Harbinger. But at this point we have the perfect hand to keep going, so we get our Mimicry Lanius by banishing Glorious Bright, Bloom Vulture it out, go to use the effect to bait their negate, so then they negate it, they summon an Ether Barrel, we summon Tribute for Raider's Wing, we then go for Y-Strix effect, and we are able to get another card, so we get the Counter Trap. We summon one, they Nibiru, which is actually good for us because we didn't have any extension past that point. So we're able to get 3 back into the back into the deck and draw a card. We get a cross out, we set our cards and end our turn. The opponent at this point is able to get back their Ether Barrel, but they're out of Heavenly Spheres, so they Ether Barrel, get another load, then they go into battle phase, get me close to death, and then during their main phase 2, summon a Blue Eyes, end their turn. At this point, all they have is 1 Drill Beam, and we have a Dream. We thankfully draw into the Skip Force, which is really good for us, and now we'll be able to full combo, as you see last game. So we go into Raider's Knight, go to use Raider's Knight. At this point, they Drill Beam. It's actually the perfect target to Drill Beam. However, we can then, at this point, banish the Mimicry Lanius. They Droll us, but it's too late. We already have the Skip Force in hand, so we're able to send Noir Lanius effect, make them both 5s, go into Brave Strix, go into Skip Force, go into Arsenal. Arsenal effect allows us to detach to summon. Then we go into good old Y-Strix. At this point we were in a bit of a predicament because our Raider's Knight was already banished. So we then had to send our Arsenal Falcon to the graveyard so then we can actually get more cards onto the field. So then we summon another one of these. However, this has Arsenal Falcon as material, and when it's used for an Xyz summon through Rise, you keep the material that your monsters had. So we have 1, 2, 3 different Xyz monsters for the RUM to use its effect. So at this point, we use the 2 monsters, only using 1 of the monsters we control, using all of them rather, and because it has the 3 materials, we burned them for game, and this was a very, very scrappy game. However, it was amazing. So I'll now leave you with the final clip that we have for this deck, and then a tiny bit of thoughts at the end. So I hope you all really enjoyed this video and the discussions that I've been doing. So, hope you enjoy. With those 3 games under our belt that I was able to show off, I hope you understand just around about the strength level of this deck. It is obviously not a tier 1 deck, and it does have problems obviously with Malice and the Malice counterplay of Lancia. As you can see from some of those clips, they would Lancia me and then you're unable to use Mimicry Lanius, which is actually extremely detrimental to your game plan. So just know that with this strategy there will be a bit of hiccups with the typical things that you're trying to do in Yu-Gi-Oh! But with that, I hope you all enjoy the video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel to see more Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. I have a very funny deck that I'm going to be showing off next time, nowhere near as competent and way more expensive. Just how we love it in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. So, see you next time.